Thanks for clicking on to the Monday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It has been quite the contrast in weather across the UK today, where we had a temperature of 0 Celsius at 10 to 2 this afternoon. The temperature in a couple of spots was around the 16 Celsius mark. So spring-like warmth in the southeast, still winter across the northwest of the country. And we do have, over the course of tonight, a yellow warning for heavy snow, blizzard conditions, very strong gusty winds in the Shetland area, and wider across Scotland. We do have a yellow warning for snow and ice. This is off the BBC Scotland weather Twitter feed here. So we've got a fairly widespread area of warning for later today, through the overnight period, and into tomorrow. The reason why is because we have got cold air sinking back south. Temperatures in 11, 12 Celsius in the central belt during the first half of today. Now the temperatures are down 3, 4 degrees, and we could see snow. So it is quite the swing across even the central portion of Scotland. Of course, from central Scotland all the way down to the south coast of England, very much in the milder. We had gusty winds as well today, 50, 60, even I believe 70-mile-an-hour gusts was recorded in some exposed areas of England and Wales through the course of today. So quite an interesting day of weather, that's for sure. But these are the 2-minute temperature anomalies off the GFS, and you can see here it is a bit of a blowtorch across parts of northern France through the Low Countries and into the central swathe of the continent, where we've got the widespread area of above 8 Celsius above the average in a large area of Germany and even into Poland also, thanks to southwesterly winds blowing strong with sunshine. Of course, temperatures responding very nicely indeed. And we also have, over the next few days, a big contrast developing across the north of the UK versus the southeast, but also versus the continent. Very warm compared to average. We've got 8 Celsius above average during the overnight tonight across the central portion of Europe, while we've got 8 Celsius below average across the far north of Scotland, where we could see temperatures back into the double digits below freezing once again. So over the next few days, what we will see is colder returning, running right back south again. The cold isn't as intense as what it was last week, but certainly nonetheless it is firmly below average. We have got some very cold nights indeed coming up. Wednesday morning looks to be a very cold morning across the board. But notice here that we've got that milder starting to approach from the southwest, and eventually that will spread its way back across the UK and more across the UK than what we've got at the moment. Looks as if the GFS tries to hold on to something a little bit below average. Focus really just on Scotland, if you notice here, and then it looks as if the mild will eventually kind of win out all together. Area of low pressure bringing increased winds. Could be seeing 16, 17 Celsius across parts of England, possibly Wales as well during Thursday. And then what we've got is we've got another push of colder air trying to filter back south over the British Isles, but it looks as if the mild is starting to gain ground here. And in the early portion of next week, long way out, of course, but it looks as if the overall consensus is on the slightly milder, if not much milder than normal conditions here. Do I think it's going to wipe out the cold anomaly that's now built in over the British Isles? I don't believe so. Like I said before, it would have to be a very significant spell of mild to wipe out the colder anomaly here. Off the CFSV2, this is the weeklies, and you can see here below average, central belt northwards, above average from the central belt southwards, well above average actually. I notice here across the central swathe of England and across Ireland, Northern Ireland. Week 2, and this is where we're starting to see the changes taking place. It looks as if mild wins the battle across pretty much the majority of the UK here. Then there's a bit of a pullback towards the very end of the month and into the early portion of April here. So we'll watch this space certainly as we go forward. Let's have a look and see actually if the GFS ensemble is updated here. So let's go back to the current period just to compare the models actually. So this is the upcoming 5 days of the GFS ensemble. very similar to the CFSV2, warmer than average across the bulk of England, Wales, Ireland, below average the north of Northern Ireland and the majority of Scotland here. Into the 6 to 10 day period here, we've still got below average temperatures across northern portions of the British Isles, which is quite interesting. That's a little bit of a difference versus the CFSV2 in the 7 to 11 day period. Looks like this here. So yeah, let's have a look at the overview chart here of the GFS, and we'll have a look and see what happens over the next few days here. Significant snow accumulations possible across the northern half of the British Isles, especially over high ground. I think we're now getting to that stage now where it's harder to get accumulating snow right down to sea level because the air mass is just not quite as cold as what it was last week, and we have to factor in the fact that the month is progressing, the sun angle is becoming stronger and stronger. So we did have a little bit of a threat of low sea level snow accumulations this morning. But of course, as the day wears on, even under cloudy skies, even when the temperature's struggling to get much above the freezing mark, the strength of that sun now coming through the sky, through the cloud cover, makes a big difference in terms of snow cover. So a lot of mess, as you can see here, cold front sweeping south. We are going to see some fleeting accumulation, even to perhaps slightly lower elevations. Then it becomes confined to the hills. We're noticing that there's another area of low pressure that's heading south with another frontal system here, so it's going to enhance the snow shower activity. We may get temporary accumulations to sea level in the far north of Scotland, and then as we continue to play through the sequence here, so there's that next band of snow moving south with wintry showers behind it. We're increasing the strength of that northwest wind, as you can see here. And then that takes us out to the middle portion of the week. We open up the isobars, so there's a little bit of a bump in the pressure pattern. We'll see higher pressure developing in the early hours of Wednesday morning. We could have temperatures well into double figures below freezing in some of the snowfields across northern England, for example, or the north of Scotland. We are going to see some very, very low temperatures yet again. And then, of course, it's all changed as we progress through the day on Wednesday. There's that next system bringing milder air in off the Atlantic. We could have a fleeting accumulation of snow anywhere from the north of England up through Scotland during the course of Wednesday and Thursday. And then you notice here we've got a complex area of low pressure, perhaps a triple centered weather system that moves in. But the most notable aspect of this purge of low pressure coming in off the Atlantic is the source of air, rather than it being up towards Svalbard that we're seeing at the moment. We're actually going to be talking about air mass coming in from near the Azores. Squeezing the isobars means we're increasing the strength of the southwest wind, and temperatures are going to be responding. We're going to be seeing 16, 17. Is it possible that we see 18 Celsius? Wouldn't be surprised if we see that to the east of the Pennines, down the eastern side of Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, for example, even into Norfolk and Suffolk. With that southwesterly wind, if we get sunshine, we could see some very, very mild temperatures indeed here. And this is where March can be a very fickle month. It could bring midwinter conditions like we're seeing at the moment, like we've seen through much of last week, or we could see a taste of early summertime. And the dynamics during the month of March is complex. Winter trying to cling on, summer warmth trying to build northwards, and of course we've been seeing temperatures. And I actually meant to say this in yesterday's global weather and climate report, meant to talk about Cyclone Freddy, which I didn't do, and also the temperatures record breaking across parts of eastern Spain, where we've seen temperatures into the 30s. I think I may have touched on the 30s in Spain. I can't quite remember off the top of my head as of recording at the moment. I think I might have. But yeah, so big swings coming up now. We've got this fight going on. Instead, I think we are starting to lose a little bit of that sun stratospheric warming response now, possibly. We're also having to watch the Mann-Julian oscillation also, but certainly it looks as if that the mild conditions start to win out more towards the end of the week. and then there may be a little bit of a battle, a fight going on between warm and cold as we progress through the upcoming weekend and into early next week here. You notice here more areas of low pressure. Notice here the snow getting printed out by the model as well, indicating that we do have cold air coming back in. So let's have a quick look at the 850 temperatures of the model here. So south comes the Arctic air once again. And then as you can see here, as that pushes south, we've got that mild air coming in and approaching from the west-southwest. Eventually that wins the battle during Thursday. You notice here that we lose all the cold air even at 8,000 feet. Cold air tries to come in, but notice the position of this area of low pressure. It's to the west of the UK, so therefore it's stopping the southward progress of this cold air with the position of that area of low pressure. If the area of low pressure was further south and east, we would have more of an open door to colder air coming in on the backside. But having it to the west means that we're on the warm side of this area of low pressure. Therefore, milder air is coming in from a south to southwesterly direction here. So it's all about the position of that low actually kind of stopping the cold from coming south and keeping that mild air going from the southwest here. Looking at the snowfall probability here of the model, you can see here that if we go back to the current period, we do increase the snow across the north. We could have significant accumulations over particularly the high ground mainly, and then as we progress towards the very end of the week, it looks as if we really melt that snow back to the hills once again. So you can see the general idea. Looking at the 2 meter temperature anomalies here of the model, let's go back to the UK view and see exactly what the models are indicating in terms of the temperature. So very, very chilly nights indeed coming up. So we'll play through the loop. Is it going to come back for me? So we'll play through the loop here and you can see this is the temperatures for this evening. So 8, 9, minus 10, very, very possible indeed. Especially over the central portion of the Highlands. We do have a bit of a northerly flow going on. May keep the temperatures up slightly through the night in more exposed areas susceptible to that wind. But of course, if you get to the lee of mountains, we'll have less wind. With the clear skies, the temperatures drop more. We continue to play through the loop. It looks as if Wednesday morning potentially colder, and then as you can see here, we start to see that warm air moving in from the southwest by the time we reach Thursday and Friday here, and I think temperatures 17, possibly an 18 Celsius somewhere in England during Thursday or Friday. So lots of things going on at the moment here. We do have more cold coming south, then we've got mild coming north through the latter half of the week. So, as always, of course, if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. Please like, please share with your friends and family, and I'll hopefully be back again tomorrow with more. Bye for now.